Hey everyone, it's Retro here today. I'm bringing you guys a more tankier energy shield guide on the Ice Strike Monk build. Please give a like and subscribe, and if you want to help the channel out more, I recently unlocked a super thanks. I would really appreciate it, anything helps. But let's get into the video. So I've made a few changes since the last video, and I just wanted to break everything down for you guys in detail. The build to handle like delirium maps and just like burning ground better. Most people are recommending that like we have at least 70% evasion, so I was playing around with a new body armor that's just energy shield. I paid like 3 div for it. They aren't too bad, but what you might ask is like, where do we get our evasion, right? Since we're not getting it from any piece of gear, right? So if we take a look at our amulet, it's not like an amazing amulet or anything, but we actually distill subterfuge mask. That will carry our evasion to 70% and above. The reason we died a lot before during like instilled delirium juice maps is because we would get stunned. Our Herald of Ice just can't shatter anything. And if you're trying to do like simulacrum, you probably would like to switch to like Stormwave or Tempest stat stacking. And if you want to die less, definitely follow the setup below. And if you're also just looking for some tips or just need a new setup, but basically, the bigger our ES is, the bigger our stun threshold is because of our jewels that we are using now. But I'm going to go over everything regarding the setup, starting with like mousing over the gear. At present, the Ice Strike Monk build is performing really well. It provides a smooth experience for mapping. While it may not be a build that like takes bosses out instantly, it still delivers really good damage. For example, I defeated this T4 Zesh without really any problems. I'm not even using like a bossing setup, but some builds can just annihilate bosses in seconds. Ice Strike prioritizes steady, reliable damage. It can easily reach approximately like 1,000,000 DPS. This makes it a versatile build for just map clearing and boss encounters without significant issues. Even in challenging encounters such as like T4 Arbiter and Citadels, this build completely destroys them. The fences, because that's a crucial part of what makes this build decently effective. So like I said before, I have 70% evasion now, but this time I have 7,500 energy shield, and then with Grim Feast, we have about 15k in total. Of course, you're going to want to make sure your resistances are capped. I've made sure mine are all covered. If you're following this build, hitting the defensive benchmarks is going to make your gameplay feel significantly smoother. Just playing around, testing things out, the biggest change was swapping to a full energy shield body armor. This was only like 3 divines. It's pretty cheap. It's definitely not like the best one or even close to it. If you're trying the build out, I highly recommend just finding a decent chest plate with a good amount of energy shield and just make sure you get your resistances covered. And that should make the rest of your gearing pretty easy. My boots, they still have like 30% movement speed, some solid cold and lightning res. Another major upgrade was replacing my old Ingenuity belt. I went from like 69% to 77%. Plus, like we also have a 15% max energy shield, which helps me get closer to that 7k 7500 area. I haven't made any changes to my rings yet, but if you're following this build and just need more mana sustain, consider rings with like mana leech, or just get some jewels that grant mana on kill in the early game. It makes a big difference getting rings with like 150 more mana. That will definitely help you sustain better for smoother mapping. Next up is the Ingenuity belts. They're great for capping res, adding some extra rarity. Right now my rarity is sitting at about 150%, though I'd say aiming for like 100% is a good baseline. For my helmet, I'm using a full energy shield piece with crit hit chance and rarity. Since we're running Chaos Inoculation, life stats don't matter at all, so ignore those. My amulet is not the greatest. We swapped it to have subterfuge mask on because my other one was corrupted. My quarterstaff is a pretty good DPS upgrade. I managed to have a 700 DPS staff, which is pretty good. If you're following this build and you can't get one that's that high, a 600 DPS staff is still strong enough to handle like all pinnacle content. Key weapon stats to look for include high attack speed, good crit damage, and elemental damage increase to attacks. Mine does not have it, but beware, like those type of quarterstaffs can be quite expensive. As for gloves, I'm using the Hands of Wisdom. These are a huge damage boost for any monk build, and honestly, I'd say every monk should use them. They provide really good attack speed and a ton of flat lightning damage scaling based on dex and intelligence, which is a major boost for the setup. Let's go over the skill gem setup in case you're just new to the channel. For Ice Strike, we used Heft, Primal Armament, Martial Tempo, Ice Bite, and Concentrated Effect. For Tempest Bell, we take Close Combat, Font of Rage, Heavy Swing, Super Critical, and Cold Exposure. For Charged Staff, we use Persistence, Coursing Current, Overcharge, Conduction, and Rising Tempest. For Herald of Ice, we use Innervate, Lightning Infusion, Shock Siphon, Magnified Effect, and Lightning Exposure. For Herald of Thunder, we use Glaciation, Ambush, Cold Infusion, and Long Shot. And then for Wind Dancer, it's supported by Culling Strike, Blind, Unbreakable, and Rage. We have Precision. And then for our last one, Combat Frenzy, it's supported by Profusion and Clarity. Next, we're going to take a look at the passive skill tree. We are using the Megalomaniac Jewel. It allows me to allocate Storm Charge. It's a powerful passive that boosts our damage a lot. This jewel was decently expensive, costing around 10 Divine Orbs, but it's pretty much worth it. A quick rundown of some other key passives. Patient Barrier, it's an essential defensive passive that increases our energy shield by around like 60%, making it a must-have for some survivability. Chaos Inoculation is expected. It reduces our life to 1, grants complete immunity to chaos damage, simplifying some gear choices and defensives. We also take the Melding passive now for just more energy shield. Also, if anyone else got some tips on what I should do for the Metamorphosis Diamond, please let me know. I feel like I'm just not using it to its full potential anymore, but is on what I should do. But right now, the Controlled Metamorphosis Jewel lets us invest into melee damage nodes, and within its radius, we can take Falcon Technique for attack speed and damage. We also take Escape Velocity for movement and evasion, and then just Maiming Strike for more damage. A Time Loss Jewel, it's pretty decent. It's not fully optimized yet. I'll probably upgrade it soon, but additionally, I'm running a jewel that grants Rage, ensuring we benefit for some extra damage since I took it off my staff. I might even pick up a second Rage Jewel to improve uptime. But with these passive choices and jewel setups, the build significantly improves both offensive and defensive capabilities, making it pretty strong for survivability and just burst damage overall. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments. I really appreciate your feedback. Thanks for watching, guys.